Take us through just what, and I know this is a very general question, but the year in total, what has worked for this group? Obviously, this has been a team that's been successful from the very start. It's not like it's just hot right now. What has been good for you guys from beginning to this point?
Yeah, I mean, we could see it in the fall. Obviously, we were hitting a lot of home runs, and we knew we could hit. And we knew we had pitching too, but we lost Knapp, we lost Folger, so at the beginning of the season it was kind of chaotic. We were like, what are we gonna do? We know we can hit, but we're gonna have to pitch if we want to make it all the way. And we had DeCaro step up, which was huge. We had Chase Sprague step up, and those are two big time players. They big game players. They play well when it matters, and that's exactly what we need. I think that was a difference maker. So I would say we always knew we could hit, so that was never an issue, even at the beginning when we weren't really slugging like we wanted to. But then the pitching started to come along, and now we're just rolling.
Tar Heels are hitting a lot of home runs. Casey Cook's been hitting a lot of home runs. And everybody's been saying, well, he worked really hard on his body. Well, if it was that easy, everybody would be doing it. So what did you do?
Yeah, a little bit was putting on weight. I needed to put on some weight, so I did put on some weight. And the part of that is I did hit home runs in practice, so I knew I could do it. I knew it was in the tank, but it was like
that counts.
and no one saw that, but I knew I could do it, but I just had to find that swing in the game. And even in the fall and preseason, I didn't hit many home runs. So I guess just early on in the year, I found that swing, the swing that I knew I could have. And, it was a lot of work with Coach Weir's big on how to make that translate into the game. And once it did, I feel like it's something I could make happen more consistently. So I would say it wasn't like a night and day thing. It wasn't like, oh, this clicked. It's just kind of something that I knew I could do. And I just had to slowly get more comfortable and have it transition.
Did you feel like you had to give up anything to get the power?
I mean, you could say a little bit of swing and miss, but it's not at a point where it's alarming, obviously if you're trying to have more intent at the plate, you're probably going to swing and miss a little bit more. You might chase a little bit more, but my thing was I wanted to hit for more power, but I didn't want to give away what ultimately helped me be successful in the first place, and that was bat to ball skills. So I think it's a fine line and just finding some place somewhere in the middle.
You mentioned the practice home runs, but then working to find that same swing in the game. Like what does that work look like? It's like I can go out to the practice range right now and look great with my 7-iron, but then I go on the course and it's a struggle. So, like, what kind of work were you doing to try to get it to carry over from point A to point B?
Yeah, it's interesting because you would think it would be a swing adjustment, but it's actually, for me, it was all mental. It was the fact that when you're in the game, you can kind of tend to get defensive and catch balls deeper in the zone, which will lower out your launch angle. And for me, it was playing a little bit more out in front, so catching balls more out in front, and that can be almost a scary thing to do in the game because once you start playing out in front, you'll start getting fooled more because you have to make earlier decisions. So I'd say a part of that was just being more comfortable in college baseball and facing good arms to be able to play more out in front and take those chances when you can in good counts. And I would say it wasn't much of a swing adjustment, maybe little tweaks here and there, but for me it was all mentality, and that I feel like that's just something that comes with time, just getting the feel for it.
There's so much information available to you now as a player in terms of statistics and video and all sorts of metrics. How do you try to balance all of that with just the physical ability to put the bat on the ball, and you know how to do that and you know what to do?
Yeah, I think nowadays a lot of players can almost get paralyzed by all that stuff. If you're thinking about too many numbers, at the end of the day, it's always been a feel game. You don't want too much going through your head. You want to keep it simple, and when you got all these numbers running through your head, it's kind of hard to filter all those thoughts. So I would say in a practice environment, that's a good place to look at the numbers if you're trying to work on something, which I do. I do enjoy looking at the numbers because I've always found it fascinating how you can collect so much data about a baseball swing and the ball coming off the bat. But once it's game time, you kind of just forget about all that stuff. You just trust what you're doing in practice and just you hope it translates.
Is there a number or a metric or a stat that you feel is important? That's one where you're keeping up with it.
Yeah, and it's ironic because my number isn't really good on it, but it's exit velocity. It's a big thing, and I don't think it's everything. I do think players can be good without a high exit velocity, but how hard you're hitting the ball, you got a better shot of getting on base. So it matters. And mine was at a point my freshman year, which I was a freshman, so I was small, and it's not expected to be high, but it was pretty low. So I knew that's something I had to work on, and that was just strength and bat speed, which I had my drills for that. And I improved on my bat speed improved a little bit, which ultimately led to my exit velocity going up, and that will lead to more home runs if you got the right, launch angle of the ball coming off the bat. So I would say that's probably the biggest metric in baseball right now for hitters, and I would say it's important. It's not everything, but that's probably the most important thing, I think.
Your true freshman year, you were hurt for all but 3 or 4 games, and Coach Forbes has said he felt like you matured a lot during that time kind of away. What does he mean by that? Does he mean on the field, away from the field, all the above? What was that year like?
I would say a little bit of everything, to be honest. I had that shoulder thing, and I decided to play through it. So once I decided to play through it, I think that was a point where if I made that decision, I have to put it behind me. I'm saying I'm going to play through it and then don't speak of it again. But I think for me, it was almost like I had not a built-in excuse, but it almost feel like, because I did go through struggles which were not related to my shoulder at all. I just wasn't playing well. And I always thought to myself, I was like, it's got to be my shoulder. Like, it can't be me, obviously.
I mean, Casey Cook isn't going to do anything wrong.
Yeah, and it just got to a point where it led to, I wasn't confident on the field. I was taking my performance on the field, off the field. I wasn't in good moods all the time. And I actually went to a sports psychologist right after that and figured out how to kind of disassociate baseball from just your everyday life. So whatever happens on the field, you're not taking with you off the field. And then a lot of on-field tricks like self-talk and all that to help you on the field. And I think that just helped me play with more confidence on the field and just be a better guy off the field, which of course people like good people. So, I think it just helped me, and that's what I meant by maturing.
So I imagine that baseball has been a huge part of your life for a long time. So how hard was that to have that differentiation and to kind of have that break and not let, if you were in a slump, not let that define who you were away from the game too?
Yeah. It is tough when you spend, pretty much your whole every day of your life playing the sport. It seems like that is your life, but it was tough because I grew up, like, that's all I knew. I've always played baseball. Obviously, I had my family and friends who I like spending time with, but baseball's been a big part of it. And I think that it was probably one of the hardest things to do because I would say, like, my whole life I would take my baseball performance back home. Like, I lived and breathed baseball. And it got to a point where I really had to focus. Like, coming back, I had to make it a point. Like, once I leave the field, once I take my shower, it's gone. Like, the baseball day's over, and I'm just going to go and enjoy the rest of my day. And when you grow up and that's not how it's been, it's a hard thing to do. But once you do it, you just realize, how much more you can actually enjoy playing baseball because you know that your performance isn't going to dictate the rest of your day. So I would say it's an extremely hard thing to do for most players. And it's still not easy. Like, to this day, like, I'll still take some stuff, but I think I've gotten a lot better at it, and it just improves your life.
We've had Jenny Shannon on here before. And she said one of the hardest things is just getting people to walk through the door the first time. How did you figure out that this was something that just, 500 swings in the cage wasn't going to fix?
Yeah. Once I was having 500 swings in the cage and it wasn't helping, I think that's I would say, like, it was never, a work ethic thing. Like, I always liked to go in the cage and do my stuff. But then once I got in the field, like, I wasn't as confident as I should be. Like, I wasn't trusting myself. And that's when I realized it might have been deeper than, just hard work. That helps, obviously, but you have to be right in the right headspace. And I was in denial. I didn't want to go. I didn't think I needed it. I think I could figure it out on my own, like most, stubborn kids think. And I finally decided, I talked to my parents, I talked to Terry Joe, our trainer, and I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And I went all summer, and it was probably one of the best things that has happened to me.
Okay, so your dad was obviously a very good player as well. He played at Virginia, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so I have to imagine there was some thought process of Virginia when it was time to pick where you wanted to go. What was that like? Was it a difficult choice, and just how'd you manage all that?
Yeah. I will say I was a UVA fan growing up.
That's
so,
all right.
Yeah.
Not everybody's perfect, Casey.
I was a UVA fan. I was kind of forced to get. My dad was a big UVA fan. I'm hoping he's a bigger Carolina fan now. But I grew up going to games, and I wanted to go to UVA when I was really young. And I remember I was playing on the summer circuit, and I started talking to Coach Forbes, and I came to visit UNC. And the only other school I've ever seen was UVA. So I've never really seen another school.
Sure.
And when I came to Carolina, I remember seeing it, and I was like, wow, like, this might give UVA a run for its money, and I think I like it more than UVA. So at that point, I got the offer from UNC, and it's a good school here, just good as UVA. The baseball program is, if not better. And I was just like, I think this is a no-brainer at this point, because if I have UVA this high and Carolina tops that, then like this is where I want to be. So that's how I made the decision.
What was it like breaking that news to your parents?
Yeah, no, they're fine with it. My dad wanted me to do whatever I wanted to do. He obviously was a big UVA fan, but once I made that decision, he supported it, because it's hard not to like this place. Honestly, you can hate them if you're a fan of another school, but you respect UNC, just for all its sports and its school in general. And he supported it, and now he's like I said, I hope he's a bigger UNC fan. He's got all the gear. He's been to almost every single game. So, yeah, it's worked out.
Orange and navy blue shirts.
Yeah, right.
Get that light blue. I like that.
Yeah, and then my mom likes UNC because she likes the color better. So,
hey, look, whatever it takes.
That's won a lot of battles. That's won a lot of battles. Yeah. When you grow up a UVA fan, do you have to call it the grounds and like salute Thomas Jefferson every time you walk by a picture of him and all that stuff? They're big on that in Virginia.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. I didn't know he actually was it founded, yes. Right? UVA. Yeah, wasn't it? Yeah. So. Yeah, I don't know. I've no clue about that history, and I probably should have known that a lot earlier. But
I hope your dad doesn't get kicked out of the Virginia Alumni Foundation at this point. That's bad news.
Okay, so obviously big weekend coming up. Tell us a little bit about what the preparation has been like. And you mentioned you were unable to go 2 years ago when Carolina hosted here. So what's it like for you, knowing that all this is about to happen? And as you're hearing this, the regional starts today in Chapel Hill. We're talking to Casey a day or two before them, but take us through just kind of what this week is like and your mindset.
Yeah. So we got Long Island first.
First of all, what was the watch party like? Like, what was that experience like?
That's cool. I didn't know what to expect, and there's actually a good amount of fans and I guess donors and big supporters there. So that was cool, like signing autographs, meeting all the, diehard Tar Heel fans that you see in the stands, but you've never actually met. And then after we went down to the Players Lounge to get on the camera, so we weren't with them, they were watching on the scoreboard when it was happening. And that was a cool experience, because last year we were sitting by ourselves. What were we, a 3 seed? So, it's much better to be a known national seed and enjoy the process rather than seeing who you're going to get paired with somewhere else. But that was really exciting. And what was the next thing you said?
And so just what the prep is like this week.
The prep, yeah. The prep. So we've been talking about it a lot. We have LIU first, and that's the biggest thing. You see LSU's in your bracket, you get excited for that, but we have a game before that. So our preparation right now is for LIU, and we kind of want to eliminate everything else because you're not guaranteed to play LSU. Wofford could beat them. We could lose if we're not, on our game the first day. So all our preparation right now, all our coaches are worried about is LIU. We've already scouted all their pitchers. Our hitters have adjusted for the velocity difference we might see in that pitching, and our eyes are all on the first game. And then, once that concludes, then we're focused on the next one. So I'd say pretty much all the focus is on the first game.
Boschmer Stadium sold out. The whole regional sold out for the whole weekend. What difference does a big crowd make in this type of environment, especially a proactive crowd and not a reactive crowd?
Yeah, it's huge. We had probably the most fans I've ever played in front of at the Wake Forest game. Not that they're all UNC, but we had a fair amount of UNC fans. And then from talking to the guys from the first year, my freshman year that I wasn't there for, I was in the stands for the Arkansas game, actually, which is funny. But seeing that environment was absolutely unbelievable. And they say that was probably some of the most fun they've ever had playing baseball. And I think it's going to be something like that. And that's just, so exciting because you're playing, your favorite game in front of all these people that want to come watch. And you have the support of all Tar Heel Nation who might have only been able to watch on TV, but at this point, they're all coming to watch us play in person. So I'm excited to see what the Bosch looks like fully packed out, and it's something I haven't played in front of at UNC yet, so I'm excited.
You mentioned the Wake game. So obviously you said you faced some great arms, and Chase Burns had a great day that particular day, but you had some success against him earlier in the season in the regular year. When you're facing somebody who is an elite level talent. Does that change your mindset at all? Do you get more locked in? Is that exciting for you? How's all that play out?
Yeah. I don't want to say I get more locked in, because you should be, you want to be locked in all the time. But a part of me is like, when there's a challenge like that, I just think that's, it's so fun to be challenged like that. You got a guy who's going to go in the top 10 picks, and he's almost expected to strike you out. And for me, that's almost like, okay, like, here we go. Like, so a part of me, maybe I do lock in a little bit more, but I don't want to say I do. But those at bats are extremely fun. I remember Chase Burns and then Trey Savage from ECU when he came to UNC. That was a pretty similar at bat.
You've had to face all of Carolina's arms all throughout the fall, all throughout the winter before the season starts. If there's one pitch from one guy on this staff that you would not want to have to face in a game, what would that?
That's tough.
What would that one pitch be?
Tough. Putting Casey on the spot.
Well,
or it could just be something that you don't have a lot of success against.
Yeah. What's unfortunate is it was Jake Knapp's changeup, and I saw Jake Knapp the year before, and he was still a great pitcher, but I didn't mind hitting against Jake Knapp the year before, and then I don't know what Jake Knapp did, but coming back after Summer Bowl and seeing Jake Knapp in the fall, he threw a changeup at me that was pretty much invisible. So I couldn't sniff him in the fall, and that's what makes it so unfortunate, because we all wanted to see him pitch this year. So that was one of the pitches, and then I'll go with one of our pitchers now. I'll say Dalton Pence's fastball. You wonder why he's throwing fastballs 90% of the time. It's because it's hard to hit. Like you swing at it and you miss it a foot under where it actually is because of the high ride. So I would say I'm probably 0 for 15 off Dalton Pence lifetime. Yeah, and I probably with 12 swing and misses on his fastball, knowing it's coming every time.
What outside of baseball, what do you like to do?
We got into pickleball recently. Yeah, just this fall we played pickleball. We played it one. I refused to play. I thought it was an old people sport. And
look, you might be right about that.
Yeah, and we played it one time. I got persuaded by Patrick Alvarez, and I played it once, and we might have played it every single day of the fall. After that, every single night after practice. So pickleball is something we like to do. I actually like to surf. My parents have a place in. I don't know much about surfing. I know that when a guy doesn't know much about surfing, there's other surfers out there. They don't really like you. I'm probably that guy. So I like to be out there and attempt to surf. My parents have a place in St. Augustine, Florida. So that's I would say surfing, pickleball recently. Just a lot of those like outdoor games. I like to spend a lot of time doing that. I don't like playing video games. I try to get out. I try to get outside all I can.
Sure.
I do just kind of stupid stuff like that outside.
Have you ever had like a massive wipeout on the surfboard?
Yeah. Yeah.
I would I've never, I know it surprised you, Casey. I've never surfed. So yeah. I would think that would be, is that a little intimidating? That's intimidating.
Yeah. When I first started, I got a surfing lesson when I was really young. And then I went back about 5 years later to try to surf again. I bought my own board, and I was going on waves that were way too big for me since I was a beginner. And I got on the board and I hit a nosedive straight down on a big wave, and somehow I went head first into the sand, and I had to go to the I almost passed out. I had to go to the ER instantly. So that was one of my first experiences. And for some reason, I want to stick with it.
I was about to say, but you went back.
I did. Yeah, persistence.
I like the self-awareness with the surfing. Like he knows I'm that guy. I'm the guy that no one likes. If I don't know who it is, it's me.
Yeah. Have you seen Point Break, the surf movie?
Yeah, I just watched it this
year.
The
old version or the newer? Or the newer
old one?
Yeah, the one with Patrick Swayze.
Yeah, Swayze.
Okay, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, died on his final wave. I mean, yeah, that's if I wasn't playing baseball, it's probably what I'd be doing. That's how I'd want to die.
Go find the big one.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Maybe not the robbing banks and things like that, but yes.
Yeah.
Who is the most formidable pickleball player on the team, and who's the guy who gets all bent out of shape needlessly about pickleball?
Keep in mind, if you don't know the answer, it might be you.
No, I'd like to say also some self-awareness in pickleball, and I'd put myself in the middle of the pack. I would say Carter French is the best player by far. And then
is that really a positive trait for like a 20-year-old?
I don't. Well, it wouldn't be if he wasn't good at everything else, but he is.
Okay.
So yeah, he's good at pretty much everything he does, and so I'm gonna give it to Carter French. He gives us fits on the pickleball court, and I hate to say it because he's my roommate, but. And I do force him to come play with us, but Johnny Castagnazzi, he's not a good sport either on the pickleball court. But that's who you want to be playing against.
All right, big weekend coming up. What in your mind is important? Hopefully this weekend and past this weekend. But if you guys go as far as you'd like to go, what kind of things do you think will be important for you guys to do so?
Just playing clean baseball. We know we have the lineup. We know we have the pitchers to do it, and I think defense is going to be really important for us. Because those small little plays that get overlooked throughout the season, that's what gets amplified in playoffs. Because it's best team against best team. So I would say if we can play clean defense and we can pitch it, I think we'll have a good shot. Because the bats won't always be there, but that's just baseball, and I'm taking our offense over anyone in the country.